my name is HaviBean, and welcome to the first episode of VTubing for DUMDUMS. Now, on the first episode, we're going to be talking about beginning your model. The first thing you need to decide when it comes to picking your model is if you want a 3D model or a 2D model. 2D, in my opinion, is more complex. You will need someone who can draw your reference, your model, which requires knowing what separate layers to draw, and someone who knows how to rig your model. Rigging is to basically string your model for it to be able to move. If you are good at drawing and you want to learn how to begin 2D models, I would recommend Omori channel on YouTube and a video called How to Be a VTuber by AlyMew on YouTube. I know I already said this in my first video, but I still wanted to include it in case of those of you who needed to hear it stumbled upon this episode. If you have decided on 3D, you can use a program called VRoidStudio, which is what this series will be used for. If you're wanting to start from scratch, you can start checking out a video called How to Make a 3D VTuber Avatar from Scratch by Mako on YouTube. That video will go in depth about beginning 3D modeling with Blender to create your very own model. And that is something that I'm not good at, but they do an amazing job. So go ahead and check that out if you want to do it from scratch. This series will be specifically for VRoid. Now that I've got my recommendations out of the way, I will begin going through VRoid preparations for DUMDUMS like myself. So once you have downloaded VRoidStudio, you're going to want to open it. Okay, and then you're going to want to click on New Avatar. These are the sample avatars, obviously, and these are my models, but yours is going to be blank. We're going to click the avatar, and then I'm going to select the female model here. I do not really have experience in editing male models, so I apologize. It's going to take a moment. Okay, so it's going to show the model, and now you're going to decide how you want it to look. I want to give a tip that I did not know how to move around like this. I just knew how to zoom in, and that's kind of difficult because you're gonna want to you're gonna want to see all angles. What I used to move is my scroll wheel. I press down on it, and then to move from side to side like this, I use left click. Not left click. I'm sorry. I use right click. I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's how you do that. Zoom in by scrolling in and out, and then moving with the scroll wheel by pressing down on it, and then angles is right click and dragging your mouse. Okay, that is the correct way. I messed up. Okay, so on the left side, and this is specifically the face editor tab, so you can click, and they will give you different options on the side, and you can basically edit to how you want. I will be just quickly making some kind of design here. For example, you can make her face slimmer. I like to have my face fuller, and you can even increase the ear volume. Oh, and you can even make elf ears. It's really cute. And I believe you can go above. Whoop. Okay, that's a little scary, but yeah, I believe you can go above the range. You do not have to go to 1, but I think in some cases you might want to. Okay, moving on. I want to go over how makeup and eyebrows and stuff work. So clicking on the texture tab right beside design, you will be met with all of this, and opening all of them will bring you to basically your base layers and all the stuff that basically gives you your facial features. Once you have reached here, it's going to show everything that's able to be edited on the left. Opening each tab, you can see the layers and guides for each tab. It's going to be a little bit scary to look at first, but you'll get used to it. Clicking on the default image, you will be able to draw over the base that was provided if you want to edit and draw your own. For example, if you wanted a demon themed model, then you could just click on this default image here, which is the base, by the way. Right now you have the guide, an empty layer, and the base. So for a demon type look, I would just grab the brush, which you have a brush, eraser, and a blur tool, and I would just color it in. And you can see in the preview on the left that it's beginning to change. And there you go. Now, looks a little spooky, but if that's what you're going for, then that's okay. That's cool. I'm just gonna undo that. Okay. So, as you see here on the little image, it says that I still have that drawing over. So to kind of refresh it, you can just gonna click like a different layer. So right here, I'll click on this, and then I would go back to the layer that I drew on, and it will refresh. Yeah, there you go. Alright. Another thing to know is that if you do not like the base, you do not have to use the base. So for example, I don't like these lashes. If I do not like these lashes, I can erase the lashes. Another tip is that if you look up to the top right corner, you have this mirror option, and it will do the same thing to both sides. So see, as I'm erasing, it's also doing it to the right side. So say I didn't like that, I can draw my own lashes. I'm gonna turn down the width and use the brush and start drawing some freaky lashes. I'm using my mouse right now. Normally I would use my drawing pad, but I did not bring that out for this video. And like, let's say if you wanted a heart on your lashes. See? I know that looks terrible, but I'm sure you guys will be more creative than I am. Okay. With that out of the way, let's go down to the face. Okay, so this is literally the canvas for your face. Now, how I like to do it is I click this little plus button. Hold on, I'm in the way. I like to click this little plus button and create another layer. I can rename the layer. I normally do rename it. Let's say if I wanted to do like blush, this would be blush, and then I would get my brush. I'll pick like a pink color, make it really big, to the opacity, and then grab this brush, make it a little bigger, and just start coloring away. And this, that way I made a new layer. If I want to toggle the visibility, which means it's like not deleting it but hiding it, it does not affect the base layer, which I enjoy very much. Now you can change the color of everything that has the option of by clicking the base color and then, you know, using the eyedropper tool. The same thing goes for eyeline and eyelashes. If you want red lashes, there's shade color as well, which is the darker ones. And eyebrows are white. So something like that. Okay, so The face editor, the body editor, and the general editor are not very hard to get a grasp on. Like, you can just mess with the sliders and everything. It's just like preference. The face editor, the only thing that's hard is learning how to work with your makeup and, you know, basically drawing what you want. Of course, there is another option if you are not very skilled in drawing. That is importing or uploading downloaded resources from the internet. Where to get these resources and how to use them will be a whole different episode, so please wait for that, as I do want to be as thorough as possible when it comes to using these resources, because it will go for things such as makeup, clothing, and hair, and it's kind of like its own thing. So this is just like a general base. I'm going to be honest, with hair, it is so difficult. Having to understand 3D modeling and how to get it the way you want will be tough. I did a few designs by myself, and it can be fun, but most of the time it's frustrating for me. Most hairs on my models were downloaded resources, like the one you see here. But I still want to go over the tools and give recommendations to people who can teach you well about how to do hair, if that is something you want to do on your own. An advice I would like to give for sure, though, is that short hair will definitely be easier than long hair, okay? So, if you look at the upper left corner, you will see the tabs Design, Bone, and Structure. We are going to go over Design first. In the Design tab, this is where you will be able to draw your hair or import hair that you have downloaded, or even in, you know, something that you have made. To draw your hair, you have slightly different tools than the other tab that was in the face editor. This is the brush, which is what we had earlier. Then we have a retouch tool, and then we have a control points. The brush is obviously to draw your hair, and then the retouch tool is basically help you redraw it. Even though you've already made it, you can like redraw with the retouch. And the control points is to help you adjust your hair with the control points and move it to where you'd like. Say if I wanted like a swirly hair, something like that. Okay, now in hair groups, you can put certain parts of the hair in separate folders to keep things organized. I highly recommend doing this if you are going to start doing your own hair. Do note that the hairs that you do want to keep in the group must be drawn in the same folder. So let's say, you know how I made these two hairs. Well, I want to go on the other side. I would add a new freehand group, and that's going to make a new one. And then I would get the brush and start making a new one, and you see the hairs appeared in the same group. You cannot like move and drag the hairs into a different folder. I believe so. I haven't found any other way. Now, because I'm not an expert with hair, I am going to suggest checking out ArgamaWitch on YouTube, or searching VRoid hair tutorials on YouTube for an in-depth tutorial. I'm sorry, I really wish I was good at hair, but I really am not. But I will be teaching you how to get downloaded hair in another episode, okay? I promise you. So you know how there are 3 tabs: Design, which is something we went over, and we went over the hair groups. Bones are basically what gives your hair movement and volume, and I honestly really don't know how to touch that, but I do want to touch on bones because I didn't explain it. Is basically, like say for example, I created a bone group. This will give your hair the weight and movement, which you can see over in the exporter. If I do like a movement, now her hair moves. And I don't have any knowledge about it, so that's why I give the recommendation, because I'm really bad at it. But yes, and to change the hair colors, you're gonna go on the right side and change the base color. Now, you can duplicate it and then to make like different hairs. Let's say my first character was, her hair was half and half, which you guys may have seen on my icon or something, my logo. And to do that is you duplicate it and you go to a different one and then you change the base color. And then you would go to each hair and change it to that color on the right side. So looks a little funky, but it's just for example. Okay, moving on to clothing. The first thing you need to know about VRoid clothing is that the clothes cannot be downloaded. And what I mean by that is that there are only specific clothes that you can use. You cannot download like a 3D model of clothing and put it onto your model. So let's say if I wanted like a League of Legends costume, I cannot download somebody's clothing that they made and put it onto the VRoid model. VRoid will only let you use the clothing that they have. And I wish I knew this, because when I first started this, I did not know this. And it was kind of hard for me to understand. So that's why I want to clarify that. Like for example, you can scroll down here and look. And these are literally the stuff that you can only use. And now you might be thinking, what the heck? That stinks. But there are ways around this. To explain how clothing works, I'm going to show you the base clothing that they give. Here you can see the different types and how to customize these things. Is basically how you do it with the face makeup, like I explained earlier. You can draw, erase, upload. It may seem terrible when you first think about it, but you can totally get creative. Like if I wanted to make, let me remove the accessory real quick. Okay, so if I wanted to make like a crop top kind of thing, I would go to texture, because that's how you mess with the texture, and click on the default image, which is the base. Now, once I erase the sleeves, and remember I'm making a crop top kind of turtleneck thing, then I'm gonna erase the sleeves. And as you see, as I'm erasing the sleeves, it is erasing it off the clothing. And let's say if I get rid of the skirt, because this is a dress, it'll get rid of it. And that only leaves the top part. See, I kind of erased a little too much, but you get the point. And, you know, you can get creative. And dang, I have a pink top. Of course, I'm just doing this for example, so it doesn't look that great. But yes, you can erase and create new designs. And as I said, I will teach you how to upload resources that you found online, or you can find online, and I can tell you where in another episode. Now for the general editor tab, I will be honest, I really didn't know how to touch things here because I didn't really do much. I suppose for shading and such, it's all about preference and about what you like. And you know, I had watched a tutorial though, and they basically, on the outline, they took all of the sliders down to 0, so that's what I did. But I want to give a tip that I had been battling on how to make my character look more 2D, because I wanted the aesthetics without the cost. I turned down the outlines, and I just didn't know how to do it because I Didn't know anything about VRoid. But I found out that the outlines are really what help your character look 2D, and I turned it up, and now the character you see here, I kind of look 2D. I mean, more than my other characters did, which I can show here. But yeah, that's a tip from me. Now we go to camera/exporter. You can basically have fun with your model and pose her for pictures. You can mess with the expressions and check them out, see how they look. And then you can have a background color or even upload a picture for the background and pose her. There's like small little animations, and this is great to see your hair and like your how the clothes move and stuff. And then for wind, you can mess with the wind settings and it'll like basically give a realistic feel. You can do that for photos and stuff. And then to export your model, you're gonna go to export and basically click the export button here on the right side, and that will export it into a VRM when you save it. And the VRM is basically your whole model that you're going to be using in a different program to use for your face tracking. And I hope I explained this well enough because I tried. Okay, that is all for this episode. I hope I covered it as simply as possible and gave you guys the information to start your journey. I understand that she looks a little bit janky, but if you guys want me to go through and make an actual model from start to finish, then I can do that. If you guys want to, then just comment down below or comment anywhere and I will think about doing that. Also, I'm sorry if I gave too many recommendations, but I feel it's important to give you guys direction towards people that will explain things more better in areas that I cannot teach simply. Sometimes people go into this thinking that it's really easy, but it does take work and things, you have to learn. But if you do have any questions, do drop it down and I will try to answer it if I can. The next episode is going to be where you can get resources and how to use them and upload them. But thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry if this wasn't as informational as I am hoping to be. But thank you. Don't forget, my name is HaviBean, and go ahead and sub and follow, whatever, so you guys can see the next episode, which I think is very exciting.